Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to how Christian mercenaries, missionaries tried to destroy Swami Vivekananda. So, missionaries. Generally speaking, missionaries tend to be overseas. I'm wondering if they're talking about his legacy perhaps that he left in India, or missionaries in the United States when Swami Vivekananda was over here. Anyways, again, obviously they're going to be extremists in all religions, and I would not doubt this to be true. Obviously, it more likely is true, but I've never experienced it, and I wouldn't doubt it to be true. I mean, you look at even some certain Christian if I can speak, certain Christian missionaries, even today, doing certain things like this. It's very sad that these kind of people, the extremists, are still present today, but it is what it is.
Look, systematically people coming to tear him apart. And this one is also visible today in modern England. How can you tear somebody apart? The evangelical Christian lobby thought we need to confront this man and bring him to his senses. This Christianity is right, and all this paganistic primitive religion, it must be put in its place. And this champion of this paganistic primitive religion is amongst us. So let's take him to pieces. Do you know how that can be done? It's so easy. If you want to really daunt somebody and overwhelm him, whenever he uses any word, any sentence, there are some words in the sentence which are meta terms. Like I use the word truth or love, or I use any language, there are meta terms. And you can immediately open up the meta terms and show it in a different light and really upset the person who's trying to make a presentation.
Sorry, it's really coming in and really loud on one side of the ear. So I hope it's not like that for you guys, but it might be. So hopefully just do what you got to.
And see, the theologians are masters at that. That is all they do. They learn this technique of how to use meta terms and how to expand on it in their favor. So this evangelical movement decided to take him to... This was, again, well recorded. You know who recorded? One young girl who was living in the household where Swami Vivekananda was staying as a guest. And she later became one of his disciples. I told you, women became his disciples, Sister Christine. She wrote in her diary, she was a young girl, maybe 12, 13 at the time. She said, this Swami came, he was so majestic, the way he addressed me, the way he looked at me, made me feel thrilled. You know what would happen? If Vivekananda saw any woman, any girl, he would say, oh mother, and that girl is gone. Because he's talking, when he talks, she turns into the mother. She'll immediately put a flowing hair and start dancing about like the mother goddess. You know, if Vivekananda looks at you and talks, you are finished. So this is what he used to do to mother, little mother or big mother, little mother, or mothers everywhere. So this Christine was amazed by this man. He said he was staying in our house, such a grand super personality. It was every day was thrilling for me. And then I heard of these 12 Christian ministers coming to confront him with those black robes, you know, like the mask of death, coming to bury him. They appeared on the scene, and I shuddered, because I knew this was not an ordinary meeting. This was a meeting meant to tear down this man. You see, you can do it. If you meet somebody who is not that well established in his understanding of his own subject matter, you can actually tear him apart. Do you know how? You can work as a group and try and demoralize and demolish him. Because the moment you try and somebody asks a question, and I say, it's a genuine question, let me answer genuinely. The three of you others are already scribbling down how they're going to attack me. So the moment I try and respond to him, three others are ready to say, no, we disagree with you. And they already scribble. You can always find excuses to put. So if suddenly I find that I'm trying to convince one, and three more are now firing arrows at me, I say, I'm trying to convince these three, and now six more are preparing questions. And when they fire all these arrows at the same time, it can be daunting and it can be overwhelming. This is how you can demolish. You can destroy somebody's self-dignity and their own understanding about religion. If you do that to him, you can actually do it systematically. You are literally murdering that person. This attempt was done. And this Christine wrote, I was shuddering, don't know what is going to come out. Maybe when these 12 people, whatever, arrived, when they leave, this Vivekananda would be sitting in the middle, broken man. You can break somebody. See, you can break him mentally. You can break him. But then she recorded, I saw the 12 broken men going away. And And he was majestic. He couldn't be bothered. It's happening today. Can I tell you how visible it is today? It's happening to me all the time. I am invited to various Christian bodies, theological, evangelical bodies, and sometimes there's 25 of them sitting in front of me, waiting to see how they can, wrong foot me in my talk. You can always use one sentence, they can find mistake in one sentence, and suddenly you feel wrong footed all over. You start losing your focus and you begin to fluster.
But I will say this though. So I'm guessing he's talking about Vivekananda whenever he was in England, perhaps. I don't remember if they talked about him in England, because I know the reaction videos I had, they talked about him in America, and that seems to be where his, well, at least from the videos that I reacted to, is where he was mostly at. So I'm assuming he stopped over in England, I'm sure. But that's the thing though, is that this is the kind of method I kind of want to learn. Again, Swami Vivekananda. Is to have a good, deep understanding of what you know. Perhaps not to the point of hyper-specific, but general knowledge where you're still consistent. And that's the thing. If you're very consistent, they cannot tear you apart. This is the reason why I try to break down every single argument that even I bring up to myself and that was presented to me. Because if I cannot break it down, it stands stronger. It's not to say that I can think of every way to break it down, but I try to break it down every way I can, and I present it to people to see if they can't break it down every way possible too. Then the more arguments I hear against it, but there's always a defense against it, where it's a sound defense obviously, then the stronger that argument is. So anytime that I question something from this, it's merely to break it down, or by not breaking it down though, it makes it stronger. And mostly it's curiosity and also wondering what the answer is too. It's going to be all of those combined, generally speaking. And that's the reason why I am very much welcome any criticism for the most part. Obviously it depends on what it is, but I mean, if you're critical of how I approach things and whatnot, I very much welcome that, because I want my ideas challenged, and I want to make sure that my ideas stand strong and against criticism. And don't get me wrong, someone could make an argument and it's like, you know what, that doesn't sound necessarily bad, but I prefer to do it my way. And we could disagree completely. Just two different methods. Doesn't mean that your method is better or mine's better. It's just that we have two different methods, and your method could be better for one person, my method could be better for another person. And the research that I did with Swami Vivekananda, very small one, but he's very keen, I think. He can read the book and get the understanding of it. And this is something that I continue to push, is understanding. When you can understand a lot of things, that's the reason why I listen to a lot of people's opinions, to get an understanding of how they talk and what their ideas are, so I can better make arguments or recommendations depending on how I'm talking to them. If we're having a debate, or obviously arguments. If they're seeking help, then recommendations. But my thing, I will always say this: never ever take my word for it. You can listen to my advice or whatever, but it's up to you whether you want to use it or not. Never ever think that I'm saying you must do this. It's never that.
The way they wrong foot you. They've done it to me repeatedly. So I know what Vivekananda faced, but I face it in a much minor way, because we live in now the 21st century, so it's less dramatic. Give an example. At one Christian theological college, they keep inviting me every year.
That's good.
And I go in there and I put in pluralism, many pathways to God. Christian, good for you. Maintain it, don't change, don't become Hindus, I tell them. But carry on. We wish you well. And they don't like it.
Yeah, of course.
So they say, yeah, but St. John's Gospel, you like Christ? I say, I like Christ. St. John's Gospel is said, 14.6, nobody comes to God unless they go through Christ. That means give up your Hinduism and join the club. And when they say that, I say, look, I think you misunderstood Christ. I think there seems to be more understanding and love of Christ on this side of the platform than on that side. I keep tearing them up. I do go for them. So for 3 years I used to go to this place and continue to present this broad idea of Vivekananda, and every year they try and tear me apart. They try and they fail. And then they decided, they said, now this J is no good. We must practice on somebody else. So they phoned up the Nisden temple. This is a true story. They phoned up the Nisden temple. They said, can you send us a speaker? Somebody from the temple is well versed in the liturgy, flowers, how to do this and standard stuff. Can you send us a speaker? Then he says, yes, we can send you a speaker. And he has to come to our theological college in Southgate here. And we can have dinner with us. And this is how they bring you in, they give you dinner, everything, all well laid out. And hello, Mr. Lakhani, all the lovely stuff. And then they want to tear you apart. They say, yes, we'll send you. And these people know me as J. Lakhani. And these people said, yes, we know somebody called Dilip Bhai. We'll send you Dilip Bhai. They said, good, send. So I went there, I knew what had happened. I knew already what had happened because they had bypassed me and then gone direct to somewhere else saying, we'll find somebody less kind of loud, and he will not come tearing us apart. We'll tear him up, but he can't tear us back. So they went round and the Eastern Temple said, yes, we know Dilip Bhai. So there's Dilip Bhai. I said, yeah. I played very, I said, yes, okay, I'll be very happy to go. I'll go happy. I didn't say I've been there, going there for the last 3 years. So I arrived there. And the radio day invited me, was like this. And you know what I said? I must be I'm naughty as well. I said, I am back. It's a true story. This is a true story. So you need to sometimes stand up. You see, look, sometimes the Hindus, we are kind of so mild-mannered that we sometimes don't stand up and step up if necessary to take the challenge head on. Why are you frightened? Your religion has got such broad base, nobody can knock it down. If you like, the basis of your religion is so wide. However hard anybody punches it, it cannot be broken, it cannot be toppled over. It's so broad as the humanity. You can't topple it. Why are you worried?
Real quick. About them inviting him, I think it's a good thing. Again, this is going back to the debates going on in India between Buddhism and Hinduism and Advaita Vedanta and all the other philosophies. This is the same thing in my opinion. Obviously, Buddhism and Hinduism are trying to knock each other down. This is very much the same thing with Hinduism and Christianity, or Christians. Yeah, Christianity. I mean, it's just another debate. And again, my opinion, no difference from debates in India and any other country, honestly, for two different opposing point of views. But however, I mean, obviously, much like how Buddhism almost took over Hinduism back in India, I mean, this is what Christians are trying to do, and they're just trying to wipe it out. But then again, I don't know if Buddhism were trying to wipe out Hinduism. I think they were, but I think it made a very significant comeback. But either ways, I'd hate the fact that any religion gets necessarily wiped out. Obviously, we don't want the extremes of any religion because they're just crazy. But again, much like the reason why I like Hinduism so much is because they say any path that gets you to the end suffering is the right path. There's not, if you're ending suffering for yourself, you're not in the wrong path. Sorry to speak so loud, but I mean that. Obviously, you cannot cause other people suffering to create your own happiness. That is a definite no. But yes, this goes into the debates, and I think this will help hopefully change certain Christian minds, that they're accepting. It's like, oh, that's, obviously these Christians are probably like so far, like we are the right religion, there's no other religion, and we cannot be a sub-religion under Hinduism, because even Hinduism is all accepting of all religions, and your Christianity is a path, Islam is a path, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism is all paths of life to get to ending of suffering. But a lot of these old religions cannot see it that way. They think so highly of their own religion. And again, so long as there's no conflict, it's like, no, my religion's the right one, that's fine. Hinduism can accept that. Christianity, perhaps not so much. There are some people who can and accept the fact that they see their path as a path to liberation. But I think there are probably more people out there who cannot see their religion as something like a sub-religion of another religion. They think their religion's the main religion.
It's an interesting experience, and I get this all the time. I face this strong lobby. You see, that's why when you look at this article in Newsweek, in a way it's very telling. it's saying this. It is saying don't blame Islam for being exclusivist. Exclusivism is very visible in Christianity. To the contrary, let me tell you the difference. The Muslims perhaps show it in a very, perhaps through 9/11. The Christians do it very softly, very smoothly. So this kind of evangelical lobby and this conversion program continues unabated. They are again kind of resurfacing in modern India today. It has to be addressed. So you need to stand up. So you see, this is, if you like, real, if you like, interaction in today's time. And it is not just this other religion that's been normally vilified. It is very much in Christianity. And I face them all the time. And the good thing about these people is you can win only one way with the Westerner. Do you know with what? Not with bombs. You'll never win with that. With the force of reason. You win. And you win in a big way. This is my experience. So Vivekananda here, all these groups were kind of, standing around to try and demolish his own credibility. He stood up and he won in a big way.
Okay, so it's kind of strange saying even in modern day. I mean, I don't know if they're necessarily trying to destroy him. I wouldn't doubt it. But at the same time, this goes back to kind of the back in the day between Hinduism and Buddhism. I don't know if they're necessarily trying to destroy each other. I've heard in the comments that Buddhism was trying to destroy Hinduism, but I'm wondering if it's being destroyed because of the good arguments as opposed to Buddhism just trying to remove Hinduism. I mean, obviously you have to convince the people that, that you make a very logical argument, but then again, at the same time, there are people out there who are in a particular religion saying that if you don't believe in us, bad things are going to happen, which is a very bad way to make an argument. And so I want to believe it back in the day during Buddhism versus Hinduism that they made logical arguments and not threatenings. And that's the reason why perhaps Buddhism was winning for a while. They made very good arguments until Shakar. Oh my God, I can. Shakankarya? I can't remember the name. I remember the name. I'm saying it in my head, but I can't pronounce it for some odd reason. Anyways, I believe it's the one that brought Advaita Vedanta. I cannot for some odd reason say his name. But you understand who I'm talking about. End up coming up and bringing back Advaita Vedanta into India and started defeating the Buddhists. I don't think it was with pitchforks and knives and swords and all that. I think it was through debate. That's the stories that I keep hearing, and I do believe that. I keep hearing also that India, there's very big debates between the different kinds of philosophies, and I think that's wonderful. Honestly, you put your ideas up there to be challenged, and then you challenge those ideas with logical arguments. So, anyways, kind of sad that it's happening even during Lakhani's time, but again, wouldn't doubt it. There are always going to be extremist people out there. There's always going to be people, even not in the extreme, that believe that their religion is the right one. So, as long as they believe in their own religion and don't push it at anyone else, it's fine. But anyways, that's my reaction to how Christian, not mercenaries, but missionaries try to destroy Swami Vivekananda. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.